is how enemies became friends. How enemies became friends. It is perfect. I'm kind of like a media star here. Bonds, but they're not so well known in the population as a whole, right? We don't pay for our wars anymore. We sort of borrow and hope it all works out eventually, right? So that's what was happening then, is that the president and the star illustrator were trying to speak the American people in a language they thought they understood and convey these basic ideas. Please.
What were they?
Oppression, impoverishment, religion, speech. Four, right. But I just said four, but here there are only three. What's that all about? Well, initially, at Potsdam, there was a conference in a city here near Berlin to talk about how these, and France was not represented. Is there anything else about the flags? You're right. I mean, they don't look great, that's for sure.
The American one.
Yeah, there's very little blue. Very little blue. You can see the hand stitching here, maybe a little machine stitching here and there. Very little blue. Lots of red, though. Oh, they had a lot of red. This type of color of red? Now, yep, that's it. They had plenty of this color. Oh, yeah. July 4th, 1945. The British 7th Armored Division, tanks, half-tracks, heavy material, and the Americans come rolling into Berlin. One of those British soldiers took this photograph here. So you have to imagine what they look like. A huge column, military vehicles rolling in. We've seen a lot of that in recent wars, right? In our own time. But this is 1945 when they're rolling into Berlin. This is the photograph that was taken at that time. Yeah, people are a little apprehensive, right?
Everything's destroyed.
Oh yeah, big time. Everything is destroyed. That's really important to keep in mind. It's really basic, but hugely important. The Germans were the first to drop bombs. Remember? One thing was, civilian or military, if we have a command, we issue it, you do it, right? Another thing was, going to grab the big Nazis. Remember that? But who were they? Who were the real bad eggs? We've experienced that, and to say exactly who was really caught up in small planes, right? Really tiny planes. They didn't really have radar. They had a little bit on the ground control approach radar. They didn't have any radar in the planes themselves. And they're trying to supply everything a city needs by air in 1948. Why didn't they just bring it in by truck or by rail? What happened with the airlift?
Didn't the Soviets start closing off the highways
in Western Germany and West Berlin, called the D-Mark, the German mark. They want to get the German economy up and going again. It's expensive, this occupation. And they want to build Germany back up, the Western Germany back up, and bring it into a Western European family of nations. It's expensive, the occupation. And the economy isn't going without a currency of its own. The black market's really big, hard to get tax revenues from that. So they want to build the economy up, maybe also bring Germany into the family of democratic nations. On a very basic level though, particularly for Britain, the occupation is very, very expensive. So the Soviet Union is like, no, we don't want them to have their own economy. We don't want them to sort of build up industry. We want to be able to grab whatever we want whenever we need it. And we want to keep them neutral. We don't want them integrated into kind of an alliance that you all are actually leading. We're not up with that. No. So don't forget, Berlin is in the middle of the East German section, right? What becomes East Germany as a country. So the Soviets are like, oh, we run the show. You know, guess what? Your little West Berlin, a little tiny enclave in the middle of East Germany, you can't get over there if we shut down the rail, the road, and the water network. Now they had reached an agreement to supply their troops, Western troops, by air. But the Soviet Union figured, well, there's no way that they can use that to supply the needs of an entire city. 2.1 million people living in West Berlin. You know, they won't be able to hold out for very long. We're in the driver's seat. We're not going to let this happen. So the British and the Americans, they said, well, there are a couple different options, right? A couple different options. One of them is we could roll in the tanks and take back the access routes. Militarily, the United States was stronger than the Soviet Union in 1948. A lot stronger. And they had this nifty little thing that they had tried out on the Japanese, too. What was that?
Atom bombs.
Yeah, they had atomic bombs. And nobody else had them in 1948. And everybody knew that. That was a pretty big stick to hold over people. And so they thought, well, the military people were thinking, well, let's just take back what's ours, the access route, right? And let's show them, you know, who's running the show around here. There was another group, a smaller group, that said, look, West Berlin is in the middle of this Red Sea of communism, East Germany. We're never going to be able to hold this. Let's pull back, build up West Germany. That's this idea.